It looks like we're just after 1. So let me get our presentation started here. Give me just a moment and we will get going. I am Sharon Adams with Idaho Department of Commerce. My counterpart Sarah is going to go down and start introducing folks here shortly.
Hi everyone. So my name is Sarah Mott and I'm with the Idaho State Department of Agriculture. So let's go ahead and just go down the list. Let's start off with Tina, and just if you just want to say your name and who you're with.
Hi everybody, I'm Tina Salisbury. I'm with the Idaho Department of Commerce. I'm kind of hanging out in the background here today and helping Sharon and Sarah with the chat box and Q&A. So I can get them any information you guys need to get to them. So glad everybody could join us.
Great. Andrea?
Hi, Andrea Velasquez-Son with the Idaho Department of Commerce.
Chelsea?
Hi, I'm Chelsea Conlin. I am a trade specialist with the Idaho State Department of Agriculture.
Debbie?
Hi, I'm a senior business consultant with the Small Business Development Center at Boise State University.
Awesome. Elizabeth? Maybe she's not quite on or something. Elizabeth, are you there? Do you want to do an introduction? All right, let's come back to that one. Ernesto.
Hello. Hi, Ernesto Pinar with Export Optimizers. I'm a consulting firm here locally in Idaho to help customers to enhance and increase their reach in international markets.
Great. Gary?
Hi, I'm Gary Zoig. I'm the Export Compliance Coordinator for Aviation Specialties Unlimited.
Awesome. Jake?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jake Reynolds. I'm the Business Development and Operations Administrator here at the Idaho Department of Commerce. Happy to be on here. That was an awesome video that the team just did. I thought that was pretty cool, and happy to learn a little bit more about exporting today.
Awesome. James?
Hi, I'm James Barner with the Idaho Department of Commerce.
Jay?
Good afternoon, everyone. Jay Park from the U.S. Commercial Service in Boise, Idaho. Pleasure to see you all again. I look forward to assisting you with your export needs together with the state. Thank you.
Awesome. Jennifer?
Good afternoon. Still struggling with my mute button after months of COVID. Jennifer Verdon, I'm with the Idaho Department of Commerce International team.
All right, Kristen.
Hello, I'm Kristen Kamaquestion. I work with Banner Bank in the trade finance team.
Awesome. Laura?
I'm Laura Johnson with the Idaho State Department of Agriculture.
And Sarah?
Hi, my name is Sarah Massey, and I run S. Massey Consulting for assisting companies with export compliance and training and basically following the rules for exporting education.
Great. Talia, hopefully I said that right.
Hi, I'm Talia Chase, and I am the owner and president of Two Trouble Boys LLC, a clothing manufacturing business.
Great. Todd.
Hi, my name is Todd English. I am with Riverence Provisions. We are a trout and steelhead producer in the Magic Valley near Twin Falls.
Awesome. Trish, sorry.
Oh, thanks. Hi, I'm Trish McCarthy. I'm with Impello Global. We are export credit insurance brokers, so we work with exporters using account receivable insurance, and I'm in Boise. Nice to see everyone.
Great. And Bill.
Yeah, I'm William Meadows, owner of Mountain States Oilseeds. I'm a guest speaker, I guess, here. So I've been through the program, and there's a lot that to learn, but your department has it under control, and people will get it learned.
Great. If there's anybody else who's joined who didn't get an introduction, feel free to jump in. I think Irvina is new.
Yes. Yeah, Sarah, this is Tina. I'm having actually some trouble. I'm not sure with if it was the way they logged in, but actually I just moved Irvina up and she should be able to speak. But we've got Irene Gonzalez down in the attendee list, and then another call-in user from 208-390 something that unfortunately I'm not able to move them up to be able to speak for whatever reason. I might suggest to those two people you might try logging back out and back in. So that you can be part of the conversation. But I can say that Irene Gonzalez is with the Small Business Administration. So.
Okay, great. Irvina, are you able to do an introduction? She's still on mute.
For just a second, sorry. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be a panelist on this, but yes, so my name is Irvina. I'm the rural specialist for Southern Idaho Economic Development down in the Magic Valley area. So I cover a lot of our rural communities and counties down here.
All right, great.
Great, thank you everyone for joining. Let me get our presentation going here. And if you have camera capability, feel free to turn that on. We're just going to have you stay muted for the time being until we get to some question and answer sections. Let's see. Get everyone sharing. All right. You see the screen now?
I don't yet.
Nope. Hold on. There we go. Nope. Hold on. All right, everyone good now?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so let me start off by saying just how excited we are to have so many businesses that are interested in exploring the opportunities of exporting. If you attended session 1, then welcome back. If you're new, again, I'm Sarah Mata with the Idaho State Department of Agriculture. I'm on the international team as a trade specialist.
And again, if you haven't met me yet, my name is Sharon Adams with the Idaho Department of Commerce on the international team. Both our teams work with small to medium-sized companies that are new to exporting or are trying to expand their export business.
So our goal in this session is to help you identify target markets, determine if licensing is required for your product, help you find buyers and distributors, and share some sources of export assistance. So first, we'll dive into identifying your target markets. If you have it, go ahead and grab the worksheets that were sent out yesterday. These will be helpful, and we'll go over a couple of the topics on this one. So this is one of the first steps that you'll begin to take in the export process, because after all, you have to decide where you will export to. This sheet here has room for you to list 3 countries that you are currently interested in, and from there you can score each section. Don't mind the fact that the top section is scored a little bit different. Sometimes that's a little confusing. It has the score of 5 as favorable 1, and the other one is 3. That's because the top areas are primary and are weighted a little bit more heavy, but you can adjust this to kind of fit your company. There's going to be certain things that are going to be more important to you, and you'll want to give them a higher rating. The primary evaluation criteria covers 4 main topics: competition and differentiators. So in other words, why would the customer buy your product versus other competitors in that market? The market demand and growth trends. This is the potential market size and growth for your product in that market. Pricing margins and costs. What will each of these be for your product in this market? And then current opportunities. Do you have current inquiries already, or business relationships, or maybe even current customers in that market? The lower section, under other evaluation criteria, covers the business climate. So what is the GDP per capita? How is the political climate? Are there any trade barriers or tariffs that are going to specifically affect your products? Legal and compliance. What is the legal risks in the market? And will you have intellectual property protection? Another thing is to consider the culture, the climate, and the geography. So what is the culture and the climate like in that country? And will those help or hinder your product? For example, many Muslim countries, pork is not a very good export to there, or you might not do really well trying to sell skis into the Middle East. So it's just important to know exactly what the climate is like and the geography of that area. And then finally, showstoppers. So will any of these above issues prevent you from being successful in this market? And if so, you just put an X under that country and don't score it. Also keep in mind that there may be other barriers to entering a market, such as product restrictions. So for example, we can't export fresh potatoes into China because they're prohibited. So this is where your market research will really help you.
It's typically easiest to start your target market research by focusing on individual countries. Trade.gov has a country commercial guide that gives extensive information broken down by each market. The guide covers several areas and factors of each market, such as market opportunities, challenges, customs, regulations, and even political and economic environments. When you go to the trade.gov link from the previous slide to search for a country commercial guide, it looks like this. From here, you can choose a drop-down menu, select the country that you're interested in for that region. Once you've selected that country of interest, you're going to have several topics to go through with it. The first one is going to be doing business in, where the information is broken down into 4 topics: market overview, market challenges, market opportunities, market entry strategy.
The second one is political and economic environment. This has links to the State Department website for background on the country's political environment.
Typically, the third option is going to be selling U.S. products and services. This will look at the distribution network for that country, help you understand how reliable the distribution centers are and ports, and how the product goes from the time you export it to the time it enters that country and then into its final destination.
The next one is the leading sectors for U.S. exports and investment. So this is a best prospect industry sector for this country and includes a market overview and trade data.
Custom regulations and standards. This includes information on the average tariff rates and what types of tariffs you should be aware of.
Investment climate statement is derived from the State's Department Office of Investment Affairs and investment climate statements for each country.
Trade and project financing. This will show you the most common methods of payment, such as open accounts, letters of credit, cash in advance. It'll include credit ratings and collection agencies. It also lists primary credit and charge cards that are used in that particular country.
Finally, business travel includes information on the business customs, travel advisories, visa requirements, and other aspects of the international travel. Another additional valuable resource for agriculture companies in particular are gain reports. Gain reports are compiled by the FAS's Global Market Intelligence, foreign service officials, and locally engaged staff in over 90 overseas offices worldwide. They provide on-the-ground intelligence, insight, and analysis in nearly 200 countries, deriving the information on foreign agriculture markets, crop conditions, and agro-political dynamics that are of interest to U.S. agriculture. These reports are free, and each report contains assessments on commodities and trade issues, and they're just really helpful for agriculture companies.
So now that we've covered how to identify potential target markets, what potential countries you have narrowed down, you should look at the risk in those countries. So we have another worksheet that we provided, the risk assessment questionnaire. This will help you with some of your questions in the market assessment worksheet that we already went over. So there are some similar questions in both, so you kind of want to do them simultaneously, but It does help to narrow down what you want to look for before you start going down the whole risk factors. So I will go through this worksheet and elaborate on some of the topics. Security, how safe is the physical environment? Are the countries you're considering exporting to often exposed to extreme weather conditions or hazards? How does that impact your export strategy? The political stability, how stable are political institutions? You need to consider new elections, sanctions, even civil unrest. They can rapidly change a political situation. How likely is that political landscape to change in the markets you're considering? Government effectiveness, does political culture foster a strong business environment? In Idaho, we pride ourselves on a very stable and transparent government that supports business growth and sustainability. But how effective are the governments in the markets that you're researching? For legal and regulatory, will the legal system safeguard investment? Macroeconomic risk, is the economy stable and predictable? Foreign trade and payments, how easy is it to get money in or out? It can be tough enough to ensure on time and full payments domestically, but what are the laws and the trade agreements in regards to the markets you're selecting? Final risks, how healthy is the local financial system? You'll want to talk to your bankers, insurance brokers to assess the financial structures and abilities in those countries that you're researching. Tax policies, are tax laws predictable and transparent? What have been the trends in that country, and what new potential tax laws may be coming down the pipeline that could impact your export business in the countries you're assessing? Labor market, could labor factors disrupt operations? Think about if the countries you're researching are prone to strikes or high unemployment or labor shortages. Local infrastructure, will infrastructure deficiencies negatively affect operations? For perishable goods, for example, is the cold chain well enough developed in that country? Can you get your products to the consumer or buyer in time? Or will the quality of your product be diminished due to the lack of infrastructure? So that's a big one for ag products that you need to make sure that they can get where they need to go in time without perishing. Oh, sorry, I went one too many. The last one is the local infrastructure. Well, oh no, wait. I did that one, but
yeah,
when you are doing your risk assessments, if you do come across that you have a high risk market that you just happen to really want to go into, for whatever reason that might be, it just might be one that you pick. There is a paid service through the EIU or the Economist Intelligence Unit, which provides country and industry risk analysis across 200 countries. So we've included the link there for that. So just in case you pick one and you've decided it really does have some high risk, you can still take one more step before you decide if that's not the country that you want to go into.
Awesome. Thank you, Sharon. So I want to just take a minute now and open it up to Bill Meadows from Mountain State Oil Seeds, and he's going to share just kind of briefly his experience in target market, finding his target markets and what's been successful for him.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. So I was supposed to give a 3 to 5 minute opinion on how to select targets, markets. And first of all, your business needs the same knowledge concerning your product, whether you want to sell it internationally or domestic. And I believe that a business that uses a combination of domestic and export for sales of your product. Looking at the international sector, though, 95% of the world's population lives outside of the United States. I started from ground zero. I did learn, though, a very important lesson in college. Your degree opens doors for opportunity, but your education never stops. In a couple of weeks, I'll be 73 years old, and I'm still learning, and it's exciting. The first step, you guys are already into. And let's let's see, I haven't got the video on, but in 2017, I took an export enhancement course. And that's what you guys are starting on right now. So I'm not going to spend very much time on that because one of the more important things is that develop a good elevator pitch. There, that's what sells your product. And selling in the export market is actually a three-step situation. Your first step is to take courses and learn how to do it before you practical experience teaches you how. The second step is define your competition. Who do they sell to, how much, and when do they sell? You can get that information with some trade associations data. For instance, my company sells mustard around the world, and my main competition is Canada. Well, I went to a trade association and got their import or their export data from all of Canada from 2016 to the present. Every country that they sell to, how much they sold, and at what price they sold. Data is available, and it's very important to determine what your level of competition is going to be. Their government export and import data is another thing. It's widely distributed on in the internet, and it tells what you need to know about your competition and how much they export also. It's very important then, once you know what they do, then determine where your advantages are and where your disadvantages are, and concentrate on, will the disadvantages take me out of the market? If they don't, then look at the advantages. So that's step 2, define your competition. Step 3 is we have to decide how the best chance is to get your product to the market or select your target market. And there's a number of ways you can do it. You can find telephone numbers and emails and email those targets directly. Although it's been my experience, you don't get too much feedback on it. If you're talking to a market, you need to set up a meeting in person with that customer. You can also contact the Idaho State Department of Ag and the Idaho Department of Commerce. They have educational resources that we're doing now. They have trade missions with the governor that opens doors that you could not otherwise do. And they also have trade specialist meetings where people from a country, Idaho, engages with them and pays them to help Idaho business leaders trade their products in their country. And that is a very good resource because it knocks down a lot of things that may stand in your road initially to decide on a company. Become active in trade associations for your sales items. Sign up for the Western United States Ag Trade Association trade meetings there, and spend lots of time on the internet with market research. Your best bets are to stick with the Idaho Department of Agriculture and the Department of Commerce in their trade missions. Every trade mission that I've been on with them, I come back with customers. In kind of closing, I would just like to say that compared to other states, Idaho's programs are light years above other states. their programs for Mountain States oilseeds has been the difference between profit and loss. And I'll end it with that. Thank you very much. I hope that helped somewhat.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. That was actually very helpful. And regarding the trade missions and trade offices that Bill mentioned, we're going to touch on that again later toward the end. That was great information. Thanks, Bill. So now Sharon is going to go ahead and start talking about licensing.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Bill. That was really great information.
Welcome.
So now that we have an idea of your market and what product might be best suited for that market, how to analyze the risk, you need to know if your product will need a license. An export license grants permission to conduct a specific export transaction, including the exporting of technology. Licensing laws and regulations determine whether or not you can sell your products in an international buyer, what countries you can export it to, and which buyers you can export it to. Keep in mind, only a very small percentage of all U.S. export transactions require license. So knowing that only a small percentage of products require licensing, we're only going to touch on that a little bit today. We're just going to give you some quick tips and some resources and contacts in the event that your product really does require one. When it comes to time to determine that, go ahead and follow this flow chart. Determine what you're exporting, where is it going, who is receiving it, and what is the end use. The Bureau of Industry and Security, or BIS, is a great free resource to help you and your licensing questions. You can also request an official product classification from BIS, which if you end up finding out that your product needs a license, you're going to understand all of the terminology that we're not going to dive into today. But they can help determine that. It's a free service if your product does need a license. So in addition to the resources available through BIS and their website here, you can also reach out to one of our trade specialists, Mitch. He here is at the Department of Commerce. He can help with questions on controlled exports like arms and ammo, safety and security, defense products. We have his email listed here too. But again, you can also reach out to me or Sarah or anyone at Department of Ag or Department of Commerce, and we can point you in the right direction.
All right, so now that you know what markets might be a good fit and whether or not you might need a license, we'll start to look at how you will get your products into the market. So go ahead and grab this worksheet if you have it handy, and we'll start with the first page. So your company may have already found foreign customers through your website or trade shows or other avenues. However, there might be additional far-reaching sales channels that are ideally suited to your product or service. And when you want to proactively expand your international business, you want to consider whether you will want to sell directly, indirectly, or a combination to foreign markets. Some companies may shift their strategies to be more directly involved as they gain more experience in sales. In direct selling, the U.S. producer handles every aspect of the exporting process and deals directly with the potential buyer to fulfill the sale. It requires a significant commitment from management and time and attention to achieve good results. However, this approach may also be the best way to achieve maximum profits and long-term growth. Indirect selling can take many different forms. You can sell with an agent, a representative, a distributor, to find buyers and sellers in your products in those foreign markets. You can also sell through a wholesaler or work through an export intermediary, such as an export management company or an export trading company. And if you have a website that processes credit cards, you can also explore exporting directly through that. The use of web and social media and cross-border e-commerce to find international buyers just continues to grow. And there's two main kinds of cross-border e-commerce, business to business and business to consumer. And many American business owners are now using a successful mix of both of these channels. Now this slide has a couple of statistics on e-commerce. I'll just kind of touch on a couple of them real quick. That experts predict that retail e-commerce sales will reach $4.13 trillion in 2020. B2B e-commerce sales will hit 6.6 trillion in 2020. So you might ask yourself, well, why e-commerce? Because today, more than ever, people are shopping online. In 2021, over 2.14 billion people worldwide are expected to purchase goods and services online, and that is nearly doubling since 2016. And purchasing goods and services online has become a common practice among many people around the world, and now, especially during COVID-19, as more cities begin to go under lockdown and non-essential businesses are being ordered to close, limiting shopping to all but necessary essentials has become the new normal. And companies are having to adapt and be flexible to can be a great way to mitigate these challenges. We recently conducted a webinar on e-commerce in China, and that recording should be available soon. So if you're interested in that, we'll send that out to you, and it should also end up being on the e-commerce. So this is a short informative video about e-commerce from the U.S. Commercial Service. So let's take a look.
There are numerous sales channels available for promoting and selling products online. Currently, the main e-commerce sales channels for you to consider are your US-based website with the capability of accepting payments, a website in the local market managed by you or your distributors, and an in-country or cross-border online marketplace. If you sell or simply just promote your products on your own website, remember that international buyers will want a lot of online information about your business and your product. So make sure you tell a good story and have lots of product photos and even product videos. And you should register on foreign search engines, such as Google's Fame or Baidu in China. If you decide to use international distributors, select them based in part on their e-commerce capabilities, and then actively support and help them to provide a great online customer experience around your product. Alternatively, you can explore selling direct to customers from your online site and limit your in-country distributors to only selling offline. If you use international e-commerce or country-specific marketplaces, do some research, like typing your product description in the marketplace's search engine. You can use translation software to search for similar products with words in that language. Much more information about choosing the right channel mix is available from the e-commerce experts at the U.S. Commercial Service. Visit them at the e-commerce Export Resource Center at export.gov/e-commerce. Brought to you by the U.S. Commercial Service, part of the U.S. Department of Commerce's International Trade Administration.
All right, so now we'll take a look at page 2 of the sales channel worksheet. And this one is going to cover using a representative and a distributor. So as we know now from hearing that last video and prior foreign buyers, is to hire someone who can use his or her contacts to sell your products to other countries. This can be a local sales agent, a representative, distributor with expertise in your industry. They also need to be skilled in identifying opportunities and familiar with the local regulations, logistics, and even after-sales service. And when you're ready to choose a foreign representative or distributor, you can use this checklist to assess if this is going to be a good match. You can tailor it to your company's needs because key factors will vary significantly with the products and the countries that are involved. But we'll go through just a couple of these factors in choosing a representative or distributor. The first one would be the size of the sales force. So would they need to expand to accommodate your account properly? How many field salespeople do willing to expand if they need to?
What is their sales records? What is the average sales volume per outside salesperson? Does the sales growth is the sales growth consistent? What are the sales objectives for the next year? And how will they be determined?
You want to look at the territorial analysis. What sales territories do they cover now? Do they have offices there? And if not, are they able to expand and open additional offices in those territories?
What is the product mix like? What products do they currently have? Are there any conflicts? How many product lines do they represent? Would there be minimum sales volume needed to justify it handling your lines?
Facilities and equipment. Do they have adequate warehouse facilities? What is the method of stock control? If your product requires servicing, are they equipped and willing to do so?
Their marketing policies. How do they monitor their sales performance? Is the staff compensated? Do they train their sales staff for your product?
What is their customer profile? Who are their key accounts? And are their interests compatible with your product line?
Their principals represented who would be its primary supplier? Would you be its primary supplier? If not, what percentage of the total business would you represent?
And finally, promotional thrust. How much of their budget is allocated to advertising? Can they translate your copy, your advertising copy if you need it? And will you be expected to contribute funds for promotional purposes? And how will that amount be determined?
There are a few other things that you'll want to think about when you're considering using a distributor. For example, it's very common in some countries to request exclusivity. It's not something we would recommend. You should also, if possible, try out your representative before you sign a contract with them to make sure it's a good fit for you. Here are some great links to help choosing the representative. This is the one we just went over. The other one is negotiate an agreement. We are going to cover that today. We'll cover that in our next session next month. But those are great links to go ahead and take a look at, do some of the research on yourself. Before you enter any agreement, you're going to want to speak with an attorney with experience in that particular country. So I think I saw Harold with Emerson sign on a little bit ago. And maybe he could give us some examples of how he's worked with a representative or distributor.
Hey there, can you hear me?
We can, Harold.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, sorry, I'm traveling. Believe it or not, I'm selling Idaho products. This time in Florida, but they're all intended for sale in Latin America. So thank you for having me. I can give a quick overview. So what is it? About 14 years ago, I started with a small company with a big dream in Boise, Idaho. The company was named PackSense. And we make an Idaho-based technology that monitors temperature during transportation. So if you eat anything perishable from Walmart or from Albertsons, that has been monitored by a Boise-based technology. And so we're obviously very proud of that. We're also very proud of a track record that we have with selling this product overseas. And so we started exporting about 14 years ago. We had about 4 or 5 people. We took some of the steps that you mentioned a little bit earlier, but what really has worked well for us over the years was, although we believed that, we were better than sliced bread, the world needed to know, we struggled a little bit in the beginning to get the right audience into the right market. So we leveraged quite a bit of the teams locally. And so since we do we do a technology piece, but for the agriculture markets, we've actually been working both with the Idaho Agriculture Department and also with the Idaho Commerce Department. So what have we done? So we've done, for example, worked with their international representatives. So Mexico is our biggest international market. So in the beginning, we worked very closely around events and also reaching out to some either distributors or otherwise key retailers in Mexico through the Idaho State Office representative in Mexico. That worked really well for us because they kind of laid a little bit of a foundation and also gave us valuable market insights and provided us with some guidance for the Mexico market. So it was very valuable. We've done the same thing in China with the resource there, as well as in Taiwan. And then when the time came when the governor started heading in that direction, and this was all pre-COVID, obviously, we participated in the governor's trade mission. So one of the first ones that we participated in was quite a few years ago with Governor Otter, and we went to Mexico. And just to give a little bit of an example on how these trade missions did change our perspective of the market is so we provided the teams, Commerce and Ag, with some target vertical markets and potential clients. And one of the best customer meetings we had was with Walmart. Walmart Mexico is the second biggest division of Walmart International, just second only after the United States. And at that meeting, since the governor accompanied some other companies there, we walked straight into the boardroom. So we met with the VP of quality and procurement. So we didn't have to go to a long process and many trips there by meeting with some of the junior buyers and then get, approval of a senior buyer. We walked straight into the boardroom. It still was up to us to close the business over the course of about 12 months, but it's really provided a lot of value. Yes, there was a price tag to this trip, but yet at the same time, we brought, the power and the clout of the governor with us in these meetings, and we're truly and felt supported by the state of Idaho. We've done this in other regions as well too. I've been on 2 trade missions to Asia as well too over the years, with the most recent one about 4 years ago to Asia, with a very heavy focus on China. Besides Idaho Commerce and Idaho Ag, what have we done as well too is we went and worked with the U.S. Commerce Department. And sometimes we've done it in conjunction. So around these trade missions, U.S. Commerce is typically involved as well too. The benefit of that is, again, for a small fee, we were able to pre-qualify some distributors, for example. So we went on a gold key service to Peru. So instead of me going, trying to, in broken Spanish, find some potential meetings, they pre-scheduled all those meetings. So what I had to do was show up for a pre-interview, provide them a targeted list of ideal candidates or how they would look like and what kind of business they would have. And so when I visited Peru, we did a short inventory of interviews with potential distributors, and we selected one and started growing the business. Again, that makes it a lot easier than trying to do everything remote and also trying to find a solid business partner, because some companies might present themselves as, big fish in their country. Come to find out that you're really spending a lot of resources and a lot of time on those with no results. So that is another service we did. The other thing we've done is we participated in some of these USA or Idaho pavilions. So one of our biggest trade shows that we go to is in Germany. It's called Fruit Logistica. And, as a small company, we were very excited. Hey, 70,000 people, a lot of companies exhibiting there. But the biggest challenge for us there, after we walked the show first, was getting in front of the target audience. So the US, or in some cases, Idaho, has a draw to them based on what kind of event you're at. So we participated in those pavilions. So although we were a relatively small exporting company, these pavilions draw people from all over the world. So we kind of got a front line ticket to the world stage, while as a small company and you try to enter those shows on your own, you end up in a corner, right? Or somewhere where there's almost no traffic. So you go to all these expenses, yet you don't get really the traffic or the audience you have, unless, you really either spend more money, or in some of these other events, you really have to go there several times in a row to be able to get some seniority and a better booth location. So those events have worked typically really well for us. As a result, we continue to grow. We diversified before the financial crisis in 2008. So that actually helped our small little company through a pretty dire time of US sales. So the diversification certainly helped us. We've continued to invest in exports. We are in currently over 80 countries. And about 4 years ago, actually, our company got acquired by Emerson. So we are now a division of Emerson called Cargo Solutions. Yet we've grown our team in Boise. We still manufacture electronics in Idaho, believe it or not. And again, we monitor food, big and small. We have Albertsons and Walmart as part customers, but so do we monitor also great amount of food and other perishable items from all over the world. So next time when you look at your blueberries, if they come out of Chile and you eat them from Walmart or Albertsons, again, those have been monitored by our technology all the way from the supplier all the way into the distribution center. So we rely on exports. Actually, it's my job solely relies on export. So I believe any company, small or big, should always come up with a good export plan in the beginning. Keep it simple. Try 1 or 2 markets. Stay focused. Gain momentum, and then make a good decision to determine, hey, this is the right market and we're going to go for it, or maybe we should do something slightly different and adjust the plan where needed. And with these times during COVID, actually it helped us actually go through different stages, because some markets shut down early And when some other ones were started shutting down later, some of the early ones already started coming back online. So it definitely helped us out as well too with our business during a pretty challenging year. Yet also again diversifying our sales, so we were not dependent on just one market, and it certainly helped our team to move through a pretty challenging time moving forward. So if you aren't exporting yet, I highly recommend you do it. There's never a better time than today to at least start and think and draft some of those plans. And again, what they mentioned earlier, get the buy-in from management. It's not always a quick fix to a big problem. But yet at the same time, if you don't build and you don't lay stepping stones with building a plan and starting to reach out, you will never get there. So I would highly encourage everybody to start thinking about exporting, pick one or two markets, and leverage local resources like some of those here on the phone already, as well as the U.S. Commerce Service, because it can truly help any company build a solid export and export sales to flow from in the end. So that would be my experience with Idaho Commerce and with Idaho Ag, as well as the U.S. Commercial Service.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Harold, for sharing. You always have great stories.
So as one of the results, we also got the Presidential E Award, which is the Export Achievement Award for growing significant several years in a row. So that's definitely a little special acknowledgement also by the U.S. government for our ongoing effort. So I hope we have some candidates here in this audience as well too, that at some point can display proudly this flag and this award in their Idaho office in the future.
Oh, perfect. That's great. That is very great. I hope you can stick around maybe for some questions and answers later on. I know you're traveling though, so if you can't, I totally understand, but really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll stay on.
Okay, thanks. Sarah's going to start us off with some export assistance options. A lot of that Heritage just covered, so we'll let her talk again.
All right. Yeah, thanks so much for that, Harold. That was really helpful, and he really did touch on a lot of these, which is great. It's a good introduction to it. So now that we have explored your target markets, your potential sales channels, we'll cover some of the excellent state and federal resources that can help you excel at exporting. In this section, we'll cover the state of Idaho's international trade offices, trade shows, trade missions, the U.S. Commercial Service, the STEP grant program, and some other sources of assistance. So the state of Idaho operates 3 full-time trade offices overseas in Mexico, Taiwan, and China. Our trade office managers are experts in their markets, and they are a valuable resource for Idaho companies who are looking to export. They work with both commerce and ag companies, and they can help you with many aspects of entering new markets, such as market research and insight, company information, sourcing, and vetting trade inquiries. Typically, our trade office managers visit Idaho twice a year to connect with Idaho companies. And due to COVID, these visits have gone virtual, and we are currently setting up one-on-one meetings with Fabiola in November, meetings with Tara in December, and Eddie in January. So if you're interested in getting a meeting with either of the trade office managers or even all 3 of them, then just make sure that you let Sharon or myself know, and we'll make sure we get you scheduled for those. We highly recommend this as a first step to exporting because they can just give you so much good market insight. So another thing that we do is trade shows, and trade shows are another great way to build contacts in a new market. The state of Idaho participates in both international and domestic trade shows to help promote Idaho companies. For agriculture companies, some trade shows are managed with WUSADA, and so if looking here, you'll see that Gulf Food and FoodX have a small WUSADA logo next to them. Trade shows are also beneficial for conducting market research and checking out the competition. They're an economical way to reach a wide audience for your products, as many of the attendees are buying managers. So listed here are a few of the trade shows that we have upcoming in this fiscal year, but keep in mind that things are constantly changing in today's environment due to COVID. So just be sure to check our websites for updates on the current activities.
Perfect, Sarah. And trade missions are another great activity that we offer that both that Heritage touched on too. What they do is help companies connect with the potential buyers and increase their sales channels. Historically, our trade missions are in person, and our staff and the governor would travel with companies to the destination country. The governor's trade mission we have coming up in April of 2021 in Mexico is going to be virtual this year, given the world's travel restrictions today. We're very excited about that, though, because this mission, being virtual, is going to make it a little bit more feasible for some of the small companies to participate, and the people who have never participated in one maybe give it a try this time around. So if you would like to learn more about trade missions to Mexico or the trade mission to Mexico or any other ones that we might have coming up, please reach out to myself or Sarah or Chelsea Conlon. Her email is on the flyer too, or to Sarah. We can get you hooked up in the right direction. And we'll be sending out more information in our newsletters on this over the next couple months. The U.S. Commercial Service that we've also touched on a few times, it offers paid services that are very similar to all the ones like ours, trade missions, trade shows. They have more than 70 international offices located at embassies and consulates worldwide. So they do have some feet on the ground. You can check out their website at trade.gov to get more information on their upcoming missions. Still, one more program we have that we've only touched on a little bit is our State Trade Expansion Program, or the STEP program. This is a grant program that the state of Idaho applies for through the SBA. And if awarded, then we pass this on to Idaho companies to try and help increase their export business or learn how to export for the first time. Participants must meet the SBA eligibility requirements to participate in this funded program. We will be having a new grant come out in December for our new Idaho Online Global Program. It will cover website translation into foreign language, search engine optimization, localization services, and e-commerce. We're hosting a webinar on December 2nd at 10 a.m. that will provide with the provider who has customized an Idaho STEP grant program that offers these services. So there's more information on that coming this week. Or you can reach out directly to Tina, who her email is linked on this slide as well, or to anyone else at the Department of Ag or Department of Commerce. We also have, we'll have updates on our website, on both our websites, so check those out regularly.
All right, so there are many additional available resources to help you succeed in exporting. Listed here are just a few of those resources. Each one is linked to their website where you can find more information on the services that they offer. We also recently conducted a webinar on export partner resources. So a lot of these listed here actually were on the webinar and spoke about their services and what they offer. You can find a link to the recording of that one on this slide right here. So I want to open it up for a minute again to Bill Meadows from Mountain State Oilseeds, if he doesn't mind, to just kind of talk really quick on, maybe you could share your experience on a trade mission. Bill, would you mind?
Okay. The trade missions that the Department of Commerce and the Idaho Department of Ag sponsor with the governor, I think, are probably of the utmost importance. Number one, political dignitaries open doors for you that regular business associates or business people can't open. And that's been very good. We've been on governor trade missions to Mexico and to South America, Peru, and Ecuador. And they are some of our best business customers that we've had since we've started. And the one thing that impresses me when you go on a trade mission, especially with the governor, he's right there next to you. And their political influential people also come to the business, and they talk about commerce, and things happen when you congregate people like that. And then usually at the end of the trade mission, they'll have a complimentary dinner where you can invite some of your best customers, and it's kind of a chat and dine type thing, and that's been real important. And the customers that have got oh, you might have to help me on this, but you can give a little important gift out that identifies that customer as a very important customer to Idaho at this event. And that means an awful lot to the customers there. And if there's one thing that I've learned about international marketing and customers is they get up in the morning the same way as we do. And they put one leg in at a time in their pants to get their clothes on, and they appreciate being treated as an equal and as a business partner. And the trade missions that are sponsored that we go on, I get that feeling all the time that the business integrity is there. So there, in my estimation, as I mentioned, Mountain States Oilseeds started from ground zero. We didn't know anything about exporting. We had some domestic customers, and the first trade mission, we went to Mexico, and I was on that trade mission, and we met with businesses, and that we never were able to get in the door. The door would not open unless we were with the trade mission. And we came back and we still sell to those companies. And they still are very important customers of ours. And so I would say anyone looking into the export trade situation, the money is well spent. You can qualify for STEP grants to help pay for some of your expenses, and I just about guarantee you that you go on an Idaho trade mission with the governor, you'll come back with business. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bill. That was great. So at this time, we'll just open it up for any kind of questions. I don't know if Tina, have you been following the box? If there's any questions that we can address.
Tina had to jump off.
Oh, okay.
So we'll just open it up. I saw Harold actually got on his video for just a second. Now he disappeared.
Thank you. I want to extend actually the same feedback. Like you know, as a small company, it is easy to come up with a plan, but to get in front of the right people at the right time, I wholeheartedly believe I have some more experience with the governor's trade missions. And the thing I always used to tell, because especially when we're a small company, right, we're also using resources that are prepaid, right? So dealing with the teams here in Boise as well as with the international specialists overseas, those are kind of prepaid resources already with your tax dollars. So leverage them, right? They might not have all the answers, but at least they can get you in the right direction. And then when you can join the governor on one of those trips, yeah, he opens doors and people, you know, will pay attention. Now, it doesn't guarantee automatically a sale, but at least you get in front of the right people a lot faster than you would typically have to deal with, you know, and I would share wholeheartedly that was one of our best investments. Yes, it's a little bit of money up front. At the same time, you get in front of key people a lot faster. And the governor, both the current one and the previous one, were great at opening those doors, but also being indeed right next to you. So they were definitely there to support you. They were not there, you know, with any political, you know, promises or anything else too. They were there to sell and support Idaho exporters wholeheartedly. And both Governor Little as well as Otter were champions in that. So I truly would support any of you thinking about opportunities to join at least one of those if it's in your regional target markets.
Awesome.
Yeah, Sharon, could I say something else right quick? This is Bill Meadows.
You bet.
Okay, I forgot just a little thing that happened in learning our export situation. I went on trade missions and trade specialists missions to Mexico 4 times. And each time it was very good, but there was one customer that eluded me every time, and that was McCormick, Mexico. They're a division of McCormick Spices USA, but they acted on their own, and so I decided something was wrong with me. So I sent my person that I was training for international marketing who spoke Spanish. He went down on a trade mission with the governor, and they stopped by Mexico McCormick, and Martin was his name, and he speaks very good Spanish. He went in, and a half an hour later, he came back out with the governor, and he had their business. One thing I've learned is if you can speak their language, you're going to make about a 40% gain on your ability to capture some markets. Speaking the language makes one heck of a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was great. All right, so it doesn't look like we have any questions, right?
None in the chat box. So if anyone has any questions and they want to speak up now, you sure are welcome to.
Hi, this is Ernesto. I don't have specifically a question, but I have some comments that I would like to add. I think will be very beneficial for the audience. And the first one is I think I cannot agree more with Hurt and Bill regarding the trade missions. It's probably one of the best returns that you can have, and I have been lucky enough to participate in quite a few of those. And I don't think as a company you can have a better return on the investment than the trade missions. Then it does require some planning, and I will definitely very strongly suggest the companies to take the time to plan for the trade missions, because the more information that you feed to the receiving end, in this case, the U.S. Commercial Services or the Idaho commercial office in Mexico, in China, or in Taiwan, the better results you're going to get. So please take the time to plan this. And by that, I mean you have to plan this at least 3 months in advance. You have to understand and identify who is your target audience, have discussions with the representatives at the embassy or at the commercial offices in Mexico, Taiwan, or China. Give them the time to digest that, because then your return is going to be way, way better. That's number one. Number two is the STEP programs is also one of the best tools that you have at your disposal to make this happen. Now, the STEP programs change from time to time because they are administered by the SBA, and then they feed the program to the Idaho Department of Commerce or Agriculture. But make sure that you get the information about that on time so you can plan accordingly, because it can help you to sponsor a lot of your activities for a trade mission or a trade show from the STEP program. And I'm happy to say that Idaho is actually one of the top performers of the STEP programs, and it has been for several years. I had a conversation with the SBA people in Washington, D.C. about that, and Idaho is at the top. If not the very, very top, is at least in the top 3 states in the whole nation. So we have done in Idaho something very good about the STEP program. Kudos to Tina, I suppose, and I don't think she is right now in the session, but anyway, I wanted to give her that compliment because it's well deserved. And another couple of comments here that I believe are right in line. When you are working on what your distribution strategy is going to be, it's important to take the time to really understand the market that you are trying to get into. What are the conditions in that market? And don't fall into the trap that, well, I'm not selling to anybody in Taiwan, and this Joe Doe came and contacted me and wants to be my reseller. Well, since I don't have anybody, I will just give him or her the rights to sell in Taiwan. You got to be very careful with that, because you could be mortgaging your future in that market. So be very selective. And again, the U.S. Commercial Services and the Idaho trade offices will be very useful to do some kind of vetting as a minimum. Do you know these companies? What kind of background they have? And it doesn't necessarily mean if it's small or big a company is an assurance of anything, because either case, it could be a bad company. So just take the time to do some vetting. Very, very important. And then decide if you want to work with that company. It's better not to sell anything in Taiwan for a while until you get the right partner, because you don't want to mortgage that. Then be very careful also between, there is a distinctive difference between an exclusive distributor and a sole distributor, and make sure that you understand that word and you play the game with those words, because exclusivity in some countries is like a marriage without divorce. So be very, very careful with that, because you might get into some kind of, let's say, difficult water. Now, when you are designing your distribution pricing, also make sure that as a minimum you understand some of the items that are important. For example, there are some countries that have currency controls, and the government authorities don't have really the bandwidth to be inspecting or checking if the purchase is legitimate according to their own rules. So what they do is they impose the requirement to use a letter of credit. And letter of credits are not as popular as they used to be many years ago, because now we have the digital connectivity and all that. However, in some countries, it might be the only way that you can sell. And I have had customers that actually have the money in the bank. They don't need any credit whatsoever, but they still need to use a letter of credit, because that is the tool that these governments use to kind of verify the legitimacy of that transaction, that the dollars that they are approving are being used for articles that they consider essential. So, and the letters of credits delay payment, and on one hand, and add cost to your bottom line. So make sure that you understand if that's a case that you're going to be, you will have to deal with. And if that's the case, just incorporate those costs and that financing time that might be an issue, because some letters of credits might not close or might require up to 90 days.
So we might have to have you talk on our next session, because we cover a lot of those topics on our next training session. So. Oh,
I'm sorry. So then, I just think it's very, very important, because it's. I have seen a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of companies falling into those and not incorporating those concepts, and then at the end they realize, oh my God, my bottom line is not as good as I thought, or it's unsustainable. And the last, and I promise this will be the last, is that when you are selling services or products that require an installation by a human being, then be careful, because some countries might require you to, or might require the end user actually, to apply retentions, because they consider that labor related. And those retentions could be very sticky sometimes, because they could go as high as 20%, and as I have seen cases as low as 10%. So that's another thing to understand, because at the time of negotiating with your distributor or your end user, make sure that that part is clearly established and who is going to cover that. And if you are going to cover that, then you just have to raise your price, I guess, to incorporate that. And if the end user is going to cover that, then it has to be clearly understood, because it could be an unhappy surprise. And thank you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to add all these items, because I believe are important. But I don't want to cover what you're going to cover in the next session.
You're great. You might have to be one of our speakers next round.
I'll be happy. I'd be delighted to do that. You know, and by the way, I'm part of the deck. I almost forgot. Also, the companies that are attending this session, you know, please feel comfortable to reach out to the Idaho deck. This is another resource that exists here in Boise and in the state of Idaho to help you, to coach you with your exports. So I am a member of the Idaho deck. And by the way, I'm also the representative for the Pacific North for the national deck. So Idaho is part of that block, is Northern California, the state of Oregon, the state of Washington, the state of Idaho, Montana, and Alaska. All those are in the cluster Pacific West, and we have a representative in Washington, D.C., and I happen to be one of the two representatives for the Pacific West. And now, I promise, I'll...
Thanks, Ernesto.
Okay, great. Great dialogue there. So that wraps up our presentation for today. So I just want to remind you, though, to don't forget to register for session 3. Session 3, we will cover determining your product classification, knowing what export documentation that you need, what are your logistic options, understanding Incoterms, which is an important one, as well as tariffs and free trade agreements. And then Session 4, we're going to wrap things up with learning the benefits of export compliance program, export financing and banking, and navigating international laws and regulations.
Perfect. All right. So again, I just want to thank you all for that have joined us today. Sarah for taking on these trainings with me, Harold and Bill for your candid comments, Ernesto for deep diving for our next session, upcoming preview, and all those that helped in the background. So everyone have a great day, and we'll see you in round 3.
Thank you, everyone.
That's good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Great job. Bye-bye.